Good evening, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of the 46th Mill Valley Film Festival. Thank you for coming. I am Mark Fishkin. I'm the director and founder of the festival and the California Film Institute, and I am just so pleased you are here for the world premiere of Fast Charlie, directed by Phillip Noyce. Yeah. This is the third film of Phillip's that we are showing, and I guess the real question in my mind is, why haven't we shown the other 57 films? This is a really special occasion. The times that Phillip has been here with his films, we'll save that for a little bit down the road, has just been an extraordinary experience. And some of these films that we're referring to are just memorable to this day, and I'm sure we'll have a chance to talk about it a little later. But I would be remiss if I didn't thank our sponsor of the evening, which is BioMarin. So thank you. Thank you to all of our friends in BioMarin. It's a great company. They're based in San Rafael, and we are just so proud to have them as tonight's sponsor. This is our 46th year. And despite the challenges around us over the last 3 or more years, we are doing everything that we did in 2019 and earlier. We had a film festival every year. Yes, we had to create a 280-car drive-in and go online, but we did it. We are still serving 20,000 kids in our California Film Institute educational program, both in theaters, online, and in schools. We still did our Docklands Festival this year. We are doing everything that we did before. We're just doing it with $1 million less money. So that's why you're seeing that QR code up there, because we're going to be honest and we need your help. So I know many of you are here are members, so if you can continue to be members, encourage your friends to be members. If you could do more, that's fantastic. We have a campaign that we started during the festival called the Resiliency Campaign, and we have a goal of $500,000 for the remainder of the year, and we have a $100,000 match that we're working on right now. Hopefully there'll be others. So we really take pride in being a member of this community and having a rapport with the community where we're listening to you and you're listening to us, and we're trying to serve you in the best possible way. And the best possible way that we know of is through film, through great film. So thank you very much. As I said, we are incredibly honored to have Fast Charlie here, and I guess I need to mention a couple of films. I'm sorry, Phillip, in case you wanted to talk about them, but you still can. But the last time he was here was with Catch a Fire, an amazing film. If you haven't seen it yet, you should. And Rabbit Proof Fence. Literally one of the most important and brilliantly made and entertaining films of the last 50 years. So without further ado, please welcome Phillip Noyce.
Hi. Yeah, it was 20 years ago we were here with Rabbit Proof Fence. And it was this audience that kept the film in this cinema for 4 months. Thank you. This cinema, this community, produced the highest grossing single cinema for that movie in North America. So when Pierce and I were discussing the actor strike and trying to work out where we would premiere the film, we did 2 things. First of all, we looked for a later festival, but secondly, we compared notes about, well, what's the good feeling that you get, Pierce, from a festival? And we found out that we both chose this festival. He can't be here tonight. We miscalculated. If we could have started the festival later, I'm sure he would be here, but he's about 2 or 3 weeks out. He sends his regards and his apologies. I just want to introduce some of the people that helped me make the movie. Of course, it's going to come out of the projector there, but well before it ever got onto celluloid or to digital format. Victor Gisler wrote a novel called Gun Monkeys. Victor, come up, or stand up. There he is. And then the producers told us that although Victor had set the story in Miami and Florida, there was no rebate to shoot there, so we ended up shooting in New Orleans. And so Richard Wenk rewrote the story and set it in New Orleans. Some of the other people who are here tonight are my second unit director. You're going to admire his work because every time you see a spectacular shot from the air of New Orleans, it's by Warren Thompson. Stand up, Warren. And then the guy that's got 11 credits, you're not going to see the 11 credits because we're going to stop the credits early. You're not going to see his 11 credits, but this guy's got 11 credits. He acted in, he was our special advisor, and he composed 8 of the songs that are in the movie. That's Scott Allen Perry. And then after I finished the movie and was trying to work out who was going to write the next script, because the last script in any movie is the soundtrack, the music track, the track composed by a composer who rewrites the film in a funny way. And in this case, Phil Eisler did just that. Stand up, Phil. And then 5 days before we started filming this film, we were told that we had no money. No, not a little money, no money. No money. Film wasn't going to go ahead. So then the producers started ringing around, and in the first few minutes of the film, you'll see what happened. You'll see 26 names of the 26 people that started at 1,000, and we slowly build up. They're called executive producers, but in this case, they really did produce something. It was money, and every Friday we would hope that we had enough money to pay the crew. Often we didn't, so one day they went on strike 5 times. But we got the film finished. But Brent Johnson was our producer who really got the film through all that. And thank you to this festival. Thanks, Mark. Mark, who we reached out to and immediately looked at the film and said, yes, come on down again. I hope that this theatre and you are a talisman for this film. I'm sorry if it might have been too loud for you people down here. We're trying to work out this afternoon whether it should be soft, loud, or in between. We went for loud. First screening, you're always trying to find out what works.
You got one of the best sound systems around, though. So.
Yeah, great sound system.
All right, well, are we going to get started or wait for the bathroom break?
Well, they'll join us. There's Phil. What a great soundtrack he did. You might know his music from Outer Banks, which is on Netflix at the moment. And before that, He did Revenge for 6 years with me, and then he did 8 years with Lee Daniels on Empire, yeah.
Okay, and also with us, we have Victor sitting here, and Warren Thompson.
Warren was the second unit director who did all of those amazing shots of New Orleans. Saved my ass so many times when I didn't know how to finish a scene or start one. I'd just go to the Warren reel, and there was the answer.
And Victor Gisler is the writer of the novel, Gun Monkeys, which this film is based upon. Well, I just want to start off maybe just a little bit about the film in general and your work. Because I heard when you were honored at the Cinematheque in France, you talked about everything that happened in Australia and everything that happened afterwards in Hollywood. And I think there's a little bit of subdivisions there in terms of the kinds of films. And you talked about that the films from Australia were from your heart. And the Hollywood were great and wonderful and a lot of money flying around. And
not on this film. There wasn't a lot of money.
No, not on this film. So that's what I'm getting at, is I kind of look at this, and I want to get your opinion, where you talked about art house films, independent films, you talked about Hollywood films. Where for you personally does this film fit in, or does it even matter?
It doesn't fit in. It fits in with the desire to do something different and new that I wake up with every day.
Well,
that fits into that pattern. 73 years old, I hadn't done a comedy before, so I hope people found this funny at times.
I think I heard some laughter from part of this group.
Well, of course, we must thank mostly Richard Wank. Well, Victor for creating those characters. He's the one that created the Marcy and Charlie and Stan and all the gang and created the madcap combination of drama, action, and comedy. So that's where it all started.
Yeah, it's, as you mentioned, it starts on the page, and these characters, what I love about them, and I love the dark humor, is they're so fully fleshed out, and it's done by the word, but it's also done by the music and the photography and the direction. So when you see in the beginning of the film, when Fast Charlie's coming home, what do we hear? Opera. What do we see him doing? Cooking, reading Oriental philosophy. All this just gives it a full life. And I really
well, that's a combination of the two writers, of Victor's original characters that he created and the situation, and then Richard Wank, of course, who's mainly is known for the 3 Equalizer films. Good story about him. When I said we had no money the first day before we started shooting, that was the truth. There was no money. The bridging finance had fallen through, and they said, well, we can't start. So we lost the original Marcy at that moment, the actress who was going to play Marcy, because we couldn't pay the deposit on her. But eventually, as I said, we got all those 26 people to start putting in money, and we started filming. But it wasn't for 2 weeks into the movie that we knew who was going to play Marcy. We were shooting without Morena, and then she joined. What a great actress she is. She came in cold, and she just caught up so quickly. She also, the day before she arrived, she said, you know what? That rewrite that Richard did, eliminating those 20 pages, you pulled out because we had to eliminate 20 pages from the script in order to come in on the new budget, which was a quarter less than the original money.
It was 35 days to 25 days.
36 to 25, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why it was 90 minutes instead of 120.
Well, 90 instead of 110, yeah. It was 110 originally. But Morena had a whole lot to say. Do you remember? I mean, you've
Well, yeah, there were a lot of
cut out
scenes.
all the wrong scenes and added all the wrong ones. And so Richard just was up each night. We'd go to bed about midnight, having given him the instructions for the next morning, which came from Morena and through me and through Pierce. And then at about 5 a.m. the next morning, the script for the day would arrive, ready to be shot for the amount of time that we had that day.
Yeah, and we had to figure it all out in a week because from the time, we only delayed 1 week from when the financing fell through. So we cut 10 days, shifted locations, and Richard figured it all out in
Richard
days.
figured it all out.
And we had to make the call sooner than that. We had to make the call like 3 days later, whether or not we could actually do it.
It sounds like a film festival.
It was so ridiculous that it was amusing. You know, I mean, the making of the movie.
Well, you got to keep your sense of humor, I guess, to survive. I wanted to talk a little bit about the work of a associate as a producer and a second AD because
Second unit director.
second unit director. Excuse me, you know, and a little out of my element with production, but stick in exhibition. But there are so many incredible scenes, and as Philip said, from the sky, but also, I'm presuming, you did a lot of the, the donut scenes in terms of the crash and those other things, or how did you collaborate with Philip with that? And
Well,
what did that take?
I've worked with Philip for a number of years now, and
10 years, isn't it?
yeah, at least. And
For how many films?
a couple pilots, a couple films, but we have a shorthand. You know, I like to tell people I speak fluent Noyce, because he's enigmatic in certain ways that I understand. But you know, I'm also an associate producer on the project, but I was there since we got the script in the beginning from the producers, the original draft that was produced based off of his novel, and so developing it with Philip, alongside Philip from the beginning, I just knew the film inside and out as a result.
And I always said, you know, if I cark it, you can take over, you're ready. And
Yeah,
I still
except
say that.
it was a little too close to home this time, because there was an incident one day where suddenly everybody's looking at me and I'm like, no, Philip's fine.
I wasn't fine, but nevertheless.
Well, I don't want to get you in trouble, but could you briefly describe Philip's style as a director?
Controlled chaos. It's, I mean, he
Are we talking about a film festival again?
it's probably not much different. His style, he's very direct with people, which is actually, I mean, it's a great thing for a director to be, because everybody knows where they stand and they know what to do. And there's no question about that, and you can always come to him and he'll tell you exactly what he thinks should be done. And I feel like Philip knows every position on the set as well as the experts who are doing those jobs as well, and so he can speak on their level.
That just comes with age.
And experience. So
I've only had one job my whole life.
yeah.
Directing movies, saying action and cut. In fact, my son, when he was 10, someone said, "What's your father do for a living?" He said, "He says action and cut."
But it's good because you know you're in good hands. You know, you have a strong leader, and everything goes off of that. If Philip hadn't kept this whole film together from day one in 2021, I think it was July when he said it was going to happen, and then delay after delay after delay, and then all the way through post, which went way too long, and you know, people were bailing out.
Not
and
because
back.
we took long, because we were closed down.
Yeah, just
For
obstacle,
lack of money.
obstacle after obstacle, and Philip almost single-handedly kept it all together.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And thank you all for that. Phil, I wanted to ask you, because I was reading something about your work and all the, the different things you had done, but one of the quotes was talking about that your music was almost like film noir, which I started thinking that, and obviously we know film noir to be what it is, but this is certainly in a tradition of mob, gangster movies, etc. What would you say to that comment and in relationship to this film and what you did with it?
It's so hard for me to tell because I get too close to the project and the music, and I'm really just doing what I feel is right for the film. So it's not like I set out to, we're going to make a gangster movie. Actually, I was quite relieved that you guys were calling it a comedy because I thought there was something wrong with me for finding all that stuff hilarious. I just, obviously Bernard Herrmann is one of my, biggest influences, from Hitchcock on down, right? But the much bigger challenge on this movie is this. Whenever somebody says the word, oh, it's set in the South, to me, the horror. Because immediately I hear slide guitars and, everything that's been done in every other movie since Paris, Texas, and everything else you can imagine. So the real sort of challenge was, how are we going to find these characters and find a sense of the place it's set in? And really sort of the solution was, A, using some of those instruments in ways that you wouldn't expect them to be used. I love that you called it film noir, but there's banjo in there. There's bass harmonica.
There's a lot of drums, too.
There's a lot of drums,
And by the way, he's playing most of those instruments himself and recording himself.
We couldn't afford anybody else. I also did the catering, but that's another story. And the other solution was literally building instruments. Most of the percussion you hear, apart from the drums, is actually an instrument that we built, which we dubbed the Beast. And it used to be a piano before a dear friend of mine took a chainsaw to it and a blowtorch, singed the front off, and that became this sort of weird resonant thing. But actually the first thing, I usually sort of shy away from scores that have guitars and drums and sort of rock and roll elements. It can be a little bit cringeable, but the very first thing I wrote, I think, was the opening scene in the scrapyard, right? And that's when I remember you coming in and going, that's it. And you said, what's that? And I went, it's that guitar that's hanging up on the wall. And that was kind of it. There was a bit of a rock and roll spirit about Charlie, and a bit, this guy that's operating in this very sort of rarefied world, but he's also a killer.
Scott Allen Perry, there's a chair here for you. You were in the bathroom, mate.
Where are you, mate?
You've missed his 11 credits. He plays the repairman in the hotel. He was our, what do we call it? Inspiration. And also
cultural advisor?
He wrote and recorded in his studio in New Orleans, 8 songs? Yeah. That are sprinkled throughout the movie.
Sprinkled.
Now, were those sprinkles chocolate or vanilla? Could you tell us a little bit?
They're rainbow sprinkles,
Very
definitely.
inclusive sprinkles.
No, but seriously, can you point out a tune?
A lot of the music that...
Can you sing it for us?
Yeah, a lot of the music that Moraine is listening to when she's doing her taxidermy. It's Rosalind singing. Rosalind was the daughter of a boat preacher who would preach on the water during COVID, who
we were met while location scouting.
We were location scouting in Biloxi. We did a lot of location scouting in Biloxi and shot just aerial shots in Biloxi, basically. We were going to go to Biloxi. I took Pierce to Biloxi for an entire day, and we went and ate, and we took in Biloxi, soaked it all in, and he was so excited to go shoot in Biloxi. And then,
that was one sacrifice.
He was like, I'm leaving on a plane on Wednesday if there's no money for this movie. But yeah, all the Biloxi stuff really worked out good because he
What about the music?
soaked it in. The music? Well, oh no, so yeah, Roslyn. So Roslyn, we were scouting Biloxi. We went to a houseboat. We needed this for I think for Rollo, and then of course this girl Roslyn comes in and they start playing guitar, and we all start kind of having a jam session, and she has an amazing voice. So she ended up working on the movie. She's actually props.
Art director.
Art director, right? Yeah, she ended up working in the art department. And then she had a couple of songs, and Philip's like, let's record those songs. And then we put those together, and then Philip hit me up, I think, a couple of weeks before the movie was supposed to be completed, and said, hey, can you do a song like this? And I was like, sure. And then he said, can you do 8 more songs like this? Yeah. That's the Fast Charlie way.
Yep.
Victor, I want to ask you, and we know you cannot transcribe a novel page by page to a movie. It's a different medium, and it would be 5 hours long, longer than Martin Scorsese's films. So give us a little idea about, when you wrote this, I presume most authors, not everyone, might say, well, it would be nice someday if my book was in a movie. And so now, I don't know, maybe this is not the first time, but what did you think of the experience? Without putting you on the spot too much.
I was actually talking to somebody about this before it started, and you would think that. You would think, oh, my book's going to be a movie. I'm very excited, and it started out that way. And then it became... And I realized at some point it became a source of excitement. It was a source of excitement, and it became a source of anxiety because, as we've said, this movie, and is it going to happen? It gets delayed, and there's going to be this actor. No, there's not. He's that. So she's gone, and I got really anxious about it. Like it became something that I would wake up thinking, well, is it going to happen? Is it going to be okay? And then when we found out it was going to be here at this amazing film festival, my wife, who's here, said, we've got to go out there and see it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it should. This is great. I forgot that this is great. And you did a great job, and it was awesome. And I looked at my wife, and I'm like, thank you, yes. Yeah, let's go see this. And she looked at me and was like, Pierce Brosnan's going to be there, right? And I said, I don't think so, I'm sorry. And there was a discussion about if the airline tickets were refundable or not. And she said, no, it's good, we'll go. I'm proud of you, we'll go. And the fact is, it's been in the hands of different producers and different things, and I gave myself permission to sit back and let professionals do their job, and it was the best decision I ever made. And it was great to see this film and be like, my work was done 20 years ago, and now you guys came along and knocked it out of the park, and I'm as pleased as I could be. The core. As you said, you can't go page by page, scene by scene, like you said. The core of what the book is, the characters, it's all there, and it's just perfect. Thank you so much.
In between, you had Kevin Costner wanting to make the movie for a long time.
Yeah, there was a whole. I don't want to start listing people because I don't even know. So things happen for a reason and like they're supposed to, and I'm like, this is how it was supposed to happen. So. Fantastic. It's great. It was
and
awesome.
now you're bringing out an edition of the book, but it's not called Gun Monkeys. It's called
Fast Charlie. And thank you for your help with that a little bit. And there's a wonderful picture of Pierce on the cover. I'll probably sell more copies than I ever sold the first time around. So that's great.
I hope it takes place in Italy.
That's all. I just changed it all to it's just the script. It's just you open it and it's the script.
Well, we haven't mentioned Pierce once since we sat down, and this fabulous cast that we just alluded to. But it is a great cast, and certainly has to be said that this was James Caan's last film. So but also you have from Cagney and Lacey. That was a surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you give us a little kind of a shorthand version about the casting and how it was working with James and the other members?
Well, James died, of course, 2 months after he finished filming, and we had no idea when he was filming that he was that close to passing. He was lucky to turn up on the first day, actually, because the costumer. This is not about James, but I won't tell this story. It's probably just another one of the horrors of trying to make the movie. But James was, on that day when I went to choose the costumes that he'd wear with him, I realized how much he was invested in this, what was to be his last performance. With hindsight, I think he knew what was coming because he was so enthusiastic about, bringing this character to life. Maybe also because I later realized that he was probably going through some of the same issues that Stan was facing in his life. But that's the main recollection, the recollection of a man who was born to act and loved acting. And we were lucky enough to be there for his last performance.
Yeah, that was a blessing for him and you. But he seemed, really in the moment when he was talking about the cilantro and all of that. He was like, yes, he looked older, but...
Yeah, he still was able to define that character and define, the state of mind that he was in, which was nothing like he was when I yelled cut. Then he was a whole different person.
And Pierce, how did he get involved in the...
Pierce responded to Richard Wenk's screenplay. Of course, going back to this festival, he had such a hit with Matador, where he also played a hitman. So there was something of that, I think, about it. But he loved the characters that Victor had written and that Richard had written on top of that. And he loved the relationship between him and Marcy. And the movie that we were about to shoot, which had a lot more money behind it, and we didn't shoot, maybe wasn't necessarily a better movie, because what we cut was mostly action, and what we wrote into it was mostly interaction between him and Marcy. So a straight-on action film became a character-driven film, and a film about a relationship. And arguably, that's a better film than the 110-minute version.
Absolutely. Well said, yeah.
So necessity can be the mother of invention.
Absolutely, yeah. And these were beautiful characters, and they did interact in a very natural way.
Yeah, they're born to be together.
Considering
and,
people were dying all around them.
I think if there's not a sequel, I know there'll be a TV series. No, really.
Yeah.
Because we've already had a lot of interest from people.
And I hope you all get a piece of that.
Of course they will.
Can you tell us when the film can be seen?
Yeah, film comes out through Vertical. The deal was signed on Wednesday night at midnight. Vertical are coming out with it in February. Yeah, early spring.
Wonderful. So please...
And it's not in any other film festival, and it won't be shown anywhere else until it comes out. This is the one we chose. Because of you guys. Simply because of you. And him.
Mostly you.
No, him. He responded to the film. He greeted us with like old friends. even though we hadn't spoken to him for a long time, and invited us down. Here we are.
Well, it's our pleasure and honor to have you all here, and thank you for choosing us to show this film for its world premiere.
Thank you.
Thank you.